If you are needing repair, if you're a broken person, I can give you all the money in the world. I can give you the investment. I can give you deployment of capital. I can do all of those things, and you're still going to be broken. It's not going to work. You're going to be unsuccessful. This is why millionaires jump out of windows. This is why I've seen entrepreneurs who build and become wildly successful are depressed. Why? Because they're like, I didn't topped out. Like, what do I do now? I've already made it. And they get depressed. But a healed person, a repaired person, a restored person is going to do it whether I give you the money or not. Why? Because they have that self-confidence. They've wrapped themselves around themselves. They're not looking for that external validation. So one of the hard things about being an investor is you tell people no.
Welcome to another episode of Around the Way podcast, where we help you get around your obstacles and find a way to redesign your life. We are here with money woman herself, Dr. Shante. How are you?
I am exceedingly well.
I like that.
Yes.
Whose life have you changed today? I know I asked you on the way up.
My own. No, seriously, I got to work with a business owner today, and I think I changed her perspective. So
tell me about it.
General terms, because I'm going to hold that veil of confidentiality. But I find entrepreneurs tend to come to me and they think, how do I move forward? I'm not doing what I want to do. I'm not running as fast as I want to run. And we want to eat the elephant all in one bite. Always. We want to get to a certain destination. And achievement is one of those things. I love ambitious people. I'm ambitious. But we started talking and it was very casual. But I started hearing all of the progress that she didn't give herself credit for. And I find working with entrepreneurs and people who have that community mind that they give it all away and give themselves no grace or credit.
Exactly.
And so I was like, let's pause. Let's press a pause right there at that achievement. And then that achievement. And then that. And it started to pile up. Exactly. And my favorite compliment after every session I get to do with business owners is, I feel better. And I feel like I can do it.
I love it.
Those are the two things you need.
But do you feel better?
I always feel better after those sessions, because I almost feel like there's one less person that's willing to give up. My mom says all the time, if you can just make it one more day could change the trajectory. It can change your life. It can change the course. One more day. So I always try to just give to people whatever word, encouragement, push, whatever, to go one more day. And usually that gets them over that hump.
This is good. It's going to be a good one. Before we get started, can you introduce yourself? Can you introduce yourself and tell us how you're impacting the world?
Okay. I am Dr. Shante, a.k.a. the Black Lady That Invests, which is actually a company and a trademarked brand
my God.
at this point. But how I'm impacting the world is I now call myself a capital activist. So I used to do venture capital. I used to do angel investing. I still do all of those things. But what I've found is the labels aren't important. It is important for me and my purpose that I am getting money into the hands of everybody who can do the most good with it. So in general, in America, we think about all the money that's floating around and we talk about access to capital. We don't have an access problem. There's more than enough money out there for everybody. We have a deployment problem. Logistics is the problem we have. And logistics can be solved by capitalism. And that's what I do. I take those same capitalistic principles, approaches, and I turn them on their head and I give them to people who didn't have access to the information. And if they did, they didn't know how to properly apply it. And I help them unlock those doors and get that money deployed.
Anybody that's listening right now, what do you mean by we don't have an access problem? We have a deployment problem.
Okay. Everybody knows where the bank is, right?
Everybody. I would hope so.
If I walk you into the front door of a bank, you got access to capital. If they don't give you any of it, it didn't change anything in your life. Access, knowing where the money is, we know where the money is. I can tell you nobody is confused about who has money and who doesn't have money. or whether the bank could give you a loan. That's access to capital. That's why you see all of these programs popping up. Oh, access to capital for Black entrepreneurs. And all you do is sit in a room and they tell you what you need to do, right? They never tell you what they're going to do to release those funds. If you check all these things, then we'll give you money. And what we found is ultimately, that's not true. That's not true at all. We see Black businesses get denied disproportionately, even if they're later stage and have made more money. We see Black homeowners get rejected for mortgages or, refinancing, even if they're in the same spot, which means they had the access. The trigger for deployment wasn't there on the other side.
That's good. So
for me, if we don't actually release the money, I do not care that you showed me where it is. That's like showing a starving man a sandwich.
But not giving it to him. That's good. So anybody listening right now, or just me, because this is good, how do we get those, even though we have access to it, how do we get the funds deployed? How do I need to prepare myself to be able to get those funds?
So the answer is there's a lot of things that I could say that will get funds deployed. I think showing and proving value is the one thing that any tip or trick comes back to. Is there somebody who wants the thing that you're selling? Is there some value that you're offering up? And that's what a lot of people who need money miss is, yes, it could be true, for example, that the government just gives X, Y, and Z money willy-nilly. That's great for them. But if you try to use what they did in order to get the money, you're still going to be broke, right? Because that's their success formula, not yours. So for me, it's showing value. The best piece of advice I can give any business owner or entrepreneur in attracting investors, whether they be an institutional bank or a private investor or some other pool of capital, sell something. Okay. Show somebody wants it. Show people want it. Show there's a demand for the thing. Again, provide value to somebody, and that gets my attention. Talk to me a little bit more about demand, because I think that, especially within the Black community, I see a few types of businesses. Yeah. There's credit. Yeah. Build your credit. There's hair. There's natural oils or some type of products. Yeah. Or there's something of that nature, but nothing innovative and cutting edge. These aren't real businesses. Now, people are very successful in these areas, and there's no shade to those types of businesses. But how do you sell something that is going to be evergreen for the next 30 to 40 to 50 years, if not generations? Well, I'll say this, and there was a whole lot of shade in that comment, but I throw the same shade. I do the same shade at people who start T-shirt companies and call it a fashion house. Like, you sell T-shirts, which is fine. That's a business, right? Yeah. But what I do think is we suffer from barriers to entry into real industries. We also, on the flip side, like to be very visible in our businesses, which means ultimately, if you don't have the money to start a distribution business or manufacturing facility, you're going to go down the chain to something that has lower barriers to entry. That's good. I can easily jump into making oils, right? I can easily jump into making candles or making candles, right? Because Amazon exists, and you can find the ingredients, we can put them all together and put it back out there. The barriers to entry to all of those industries is really low. What I'd like to see people do is start there maybe, but build up. If you're going to start with candles, great. Eventually figure out how to be the person that makes the wax for everybody's candles. Now, but that's a thought process. Yeah. And I think we both think that way in regards to visionaries, but somebody that hasn't either had the exposure, hasn't been in these environments, what would you recommend them do to be able to create that type of vision for their lives? So it's hard working on behaviors. One of the things I think we can encourage people to do is say, who can I sell this one thing to, right? And then say, who did I just buy this stuff from? I want to be that guy. Right? Because I can sell it to everybody. I think also a part of that conversation, literally sitting next to it, is ask yourself, is it more important for people to see you running a business, or is it more important for you to actually have business?
To own it.
To own it in a different way. Because we are in the entrepreneurship is great and everybody's grinding. I'm not grinding. I don't have extra time. I literally invest in businesses. Those businesses run. I make my money investing. I don't have to run the businesses. I don't have to go flip fries or burgers or flip fries. You can tell I don't do that. Any of that stuff.
You never did that.
No, I never did that. I do it at home. But ultimately, we have to get out of this thought process that if I work harder, literally, if I keep, hammering away, if I keep, doing harder, working myself to death, then that's what's going to get me ahead. You can look at the way in which wealth is built. It's not in your sweat labor. Yes, you have to be a hard worker, but working hard means applying yourself and figuring out how to take 1 hour of labor and it be equal to 10 man hours.
Talk to me about how we make that happen. So I have a business. I'm doing well, but I don't know how to scale. Or I just started a business and it's okay. I'm making some type of profit, but I'm working so hard, Dr. Shante. How do I transition into owning the business instead of just running the business?
Two things. One, reinvestment. So that's going to mean automation. The internet exists, tools exist. Pay for those things. We often want to save $5.99 and it doesn't help because then you've got to manually do it. So automate and then hire. And that's an investment into your business.
Got it.
And if we get out of saying, I have to do it, because again, remember, a lot of people want to be seen as the business owner, as the person doing the labor, slaving away. I don't want that. I say all the time, I would much rather be the kingmaker than the king. Because that means my power.
That's a bar.
My power is distributed in a way where I get to crown the king. I get to do a lot of things, but I'm holding the power in a different way. If you're the king, that means you're subjected to somebody else making you the king, whether it's people, meaning your customers, or, a bank or someone else. So we have to start thinking about, okay, you have to start somewhere. So I'm never going to dismiss anybody starting somewhere. Once you start, make a plan. Make those real goals that you can start to say, okay, if I'm making candles, we'll use that example. And currently it costs me $5. I'm selling them for $10. Great. That profit, you're booming. You're making money, you're collecting. Look at, okay, now how do I go from selling 100 of these to 500 of these? Because one thing that will happen is you all of a sudden have a whole product line. And then you get to, drive down your cost. So it didn't cost you $5 to make it, it cost you $1 to make it.
Exactly.
But that's a reinvestment. That means stocking up. That means not being just in time. I know everybody loves drop shipping. Drop shipping is great. However, it also makes you very reliant on other supply chains. Most people don't learn their business. COVID-19 has showed us that if the world shuts down, a lot of people went out of business for two reasons. They didn't have enough money, meaning they didn't plan ahead, or the downtime. And two, supply chains got shut down. If your factory wasn't producing in China, guess what? You had a product. If you had a product, you don't have any sales.
That's good.
So if you don't know your business, where are the pressure points? Who's making every single component? Do I have enough inventory to go 3 months, 5 months, 6 months? There are people who literally are in a 15-month backlog still. That's damaging. That's crippling to a business. If you don't have any product to sell, you don't make any money. So it's knowing your business, but start somewhere, make that plan. And then I tell people you want to pull as many parts of that supply chain into your company.
Now, these are product-based businesses. What about that person that has a service base?
Same thing.
Or a digital business?
Same thing. If you are service-based, and a lot of what I do is consultative or advisory based, one, building a business around you, the single person, is dangerous. Why? You win the lottery or get hit by a bus, you're done. Right?
Literally.
I like the lottery.
The lottery one, yes.
Not hit by a bus. But you are a business of one, which is completely valid. It's a great place to start. But if you want to scale and not work so hard, you got to hire somebody. You got to deputize another person to know as much as you do, and hopefully know more than you do, right? How? Sharing. Don't hold all the information in. Yes, I want to be the best. I can tell you no one will outlearn me ever. I'm going to be the expert.
Talk to me about that, though, because I feel like a lot of this perception that I'm an expert and I can stop learning. Talk to me about the importance of never stop learning.
Yeah, well,
I like what you said. Like, you're never gonna
outlearn me, because every day something new appears in the world. Every day. So if you stop learning, when did I graduate from grad school? 2010. If I shut the doors there on my doctorate and said, I'm not learning anything else, then that means 11 years of information and knowledge have built up. So I'm still in 2010. I'm still a 2010 service provider.
That's good.
If I continue to learn, and that doesn't necessarily mean go get a degree, that means read the newspaper. That means read more than the headline of the social media post. That means click the link, look at the article, and read it. It means always know that, one, there is somebody out there that knows way more than you and that's smarter than you.
Exactly.
And I feel like I'm always chasing that smarter person, because every day something new comes in. And that something new, I'm going to find it, I'm going to consume it. And I don't limit myself to the things I can imagine. So I get people who send me information on space. I don't do aerospace, but I'll read the article. I get people who send me information on fixing cars. I don't fix cars, but I'll read a mechanics, yada, yada, yada. It's that hunger for knowledge, because you never know when that might come into play, when you might be able to apply it to something you just experienced, to a person you're advising.
That's good.
But also give it away. I know we want to all charge for our services. I never have a problem sharing expertise. If I know the answer, I'll tell you the answer. It's fine. I don't need to bait you into paying for a consultation session. Because yes, I can promise you, if you deliver value back to value and people go, oh man, that was good, and it was free, I'm going to pay for the next thing.
Because I can only imagine once I start paying this person.
Then, because I give 15 minutes free consultation. You can ask me any one question you got.
Wow.
Now, after that, it's going to cost you.
So I got 45 minutes today. You can invoice me later, Shante. I do have a question.
Yes.
I do have a question, because it's trending right now. I'm never a trendy person. I never really talk about trending topics, but I'm uneducated on this. And I think there's a lot of our listeners that are uneducated on it. This $600 IRS is watching you, right?
Okay.
$600 in your account, and they're going to start watching you. What is that all about?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Well, tell me more about that, and maybe I can
so
tell you
there's a lot of articles that are coming out that pretty much says, as a part of the Biden administration, if you have over $600 in your account or $6,000 in your account, the IRS is going to pretty much be tracking every single transaction.
Well, the IRS can already do that.
Okay.
The government can already do that. I'll have to, and I won't pretend to be an expert in whatever this particular issue is. I think we always had monetary tracking, right? If anybody's ever tried to wire money that's $10,001, it already flags the financial folks. If you go, ooh, I'm going to outsmart the system and I'm going to do 2 transactions, $5,000, they still flag you.
For sure.
Right? I don't know if it's directly tied to the Biden administration. I will say this. Why am I afraid of that?
That's good.
Why? If I want to making my money legitimately and I'm running a decent business, I let them hold my money anyways. You think they don't know what transactions you do?
That's good.
You think they can't pull the records? Now, I am a privacy person and I understand, the government not snooping on your activities, but if you're a open kimono, let's say, if I'm my clean business, my personal stuff is separate from my business stuff. I file my taxes. I'm honest with my taxes. Why am I going to fret about that? Because I can promise you that was already a capability.
That's a perspective, right? And I think that's a perspective that I really appreciate, because I think a lot of the people that I see sharing it are people of color that are influencers, right? And I think in our community, it's like we fear everything. But if you're doing it the right way, then what does it really matter? So I definitely understand that perspective. Yeah. I do have a question though. From an investor standpoint, how do I prepare my business to be evaluated by an investor?
One, have clean books. I mean, honestly.
And what does that look like, though?
That looks like a bank account that's set up with the business name that you're actually operating under. The transactions coming in aren't random transfers from your personal account. That means literally segregating all of your accounts. So if you have customers paying you, if they pay in cash, fine. Go deposit it at the bank. So it's not I deposited in my personal account, I send it over. Because I don't know if you just transferred and paid your own business money or not. That means if you have a PayPal account, have it in the business name. You have it directly linked to your business account. That means I, as an investor, want to be able to give you credit, I'll just say, for every dollar you actually earned. And a lot of people aren't doing that because they're cutting corners. Oh, it's free if we do this transaction. Great. You're right. It is. Except now nobody's going to give me their personal bank account, right? They're not going to say, oh, here are both of my accounts because I operate out of both of these. No, you're going to keep that one separate. Exactly. So I can't give you credit. I can't say you've sold a bunch or this is the activity. This is how, products flowing through if you're not properly documenting it. So first things first, have a bookkeeper or be a good bookkeeper.
Exactly.
Do you have QuickBooks or some other software that you can use and track? So I'm a numbers person. So everybody that I've met lately has talked a good game. The one thing I know is numbers tell the story of a business.
That's true. I
can tell how many customers you really have. I can tell what those customers are playing.
Everybody's a millionaire until they crack open them books.
Right? And you might be a millionaire and still make no money. I can tell if you're overpaying. I can tell if you have no staff. I can tell if you're going to be out of business in 6 months because at this pace, you're going to run out of inventory and you don't have any money to buy inventory.
That's good.
So I tell people are so afraid of math. I don't know why. People are afraid of numbers. Don't be afraid of the numbers. Be honest about them. Some investors work with businesses that are struggling. Some investors only work with businesses that are thriving. However, nobody wants to work with a liar. So ultimately,
that's good.
Transparency.
It's another bar. I'm just saying. You came ready.
But transparency. Be honest. If you're literally like, yeah, this was a down year. I recently had an experience where a business owner, did something really big. They, big fanfare, sold the dream. And then I tell investors, go experience the thing. Go to the shop, go to the restaurant, eat the cake, whatever. Make sure you experience it before you put your money in.
Exactly.
And I knew what the consumer experience was. I actually send out secret shoppers when I'm going to make an investment. I knew what the experience was. And I talked to the business owner. And it was fantastic. Yada, yada, yada. And, then hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars got made. And I was like, were they ghosts? Were they donations? Because we looked at it and it's like, okay, that was not the experience of your customer. So transparency. It's okay to say, ooh,
this was tough. Yeah.
It was hard, different than we expected, and really be honest. I think being an entrepreneur, sometimes people get in that hustle mode, meaning I got to get over on you. I can tell if you're lying by your numbers. And if you're lying to me, you're not genuine, I don't want to work with you. Life is way too short to work with people who are dishonest. So you want to get your business ready, be able to communicate your value very clearly. Second, have your books in order. And I do mean ready to go and know where you're going. I want your investment for these things. This investment is going to help me do X, Y, and Z. Tie that to a number. If you're asking for $50,000 from me, wonderful. $50,000 for what? And I mean, I saw the funniest sign on the highway. The guy said, I just need more money. Well, shoot, me too. Can I stand next to you?
Sure.
But it was like, so you're telling me you're not in need. You just need more money. Well, I do too.
Wow.
Businesses kind of give that. If everything's great in your business, why do you need an investor? Because you should be making enough money to buy your own inventory and to buy a building and expand, yada, yada, right? So be able to, articulate why you need the money, how much you need, really as specific as you can, and tell me where it's going. Because ultimately, the only question I care about at the end of the day is, how am I going to get my money back? And if you can't tell that to an investor or to the bank, you're going to get turned down. How am I going to get this money back? I'm letting you hold it. Now, how am I going to get paid back?
So when you think about an investor, are there certain investors that would buy your business?
Of course.
How could I prepare a business to be sold? Is it the same process?
Getting it as automated and as tight as possible, which means, what are your operating procedures? What's documented? What can if I'm going to buy your business and I've seen you be successful, what's documented? And I'll tell you a quick test to know whether or not your business is ready for a real sale or complete exit. Mm-hmm. Stop working in your business for a week.
Cool.
See what happens. If your policies are tight, they don't miss you. If, things might come up. Yeah. But everyday operations, they can move on without you, without a hiccup, without, anything happening in the background. If it's not ready, if you don't have those policies codified, if you haven't tightened your ship up to where any captain can come in and steer it.
Exactly.
Then you'll know. Like, that's where a lot of people fall down. Sometimes we build businesses and we forget to document. Or we forget to tell people what the recipe was to make the thing that, is selling like hotcakes, because it's in our head. If you're a business owner ready to sell, get everything in your head onto paper.
That's good.
And then have somebody else read it to see if they can actually do the thing.
Do it without you. Okay. So I think we've talked a lot about business, entrepreneurship, investing, selling. But who are you? Outside of all of your titles, Shante, who are you?
Who am I? Well, I'm a hardworking Black woman in America. Honestly, I always think my mother's a pastor. I, first and foremost, am a child of God. And I am always looking to fulfill my purpose and give back to whatever community I'm in with whatever talents I have. So I think for me, I'm a person that's a builder. I'm a person that is an executor. And I feel like I grew up in kind of an evangelical kind of mode. But that's not who I am. I always thought the best example of a follower of Christ is how you move, how you treat people, how you live. So who I am, I strive to be a genuine person who actually cares about the people I work with, and who has continued to build empathy and, sometimes sympathy for problems that don't affect me. To have that, to have that generosity of spirit to say, no, I may not be directly struggling with homelessness, but I'm not going to judge a person who is. And if I can help, I will.
Exactly.
That's who I am.
What brings you joy? Outside of
all
of that.
Honestly, what brings me joy is, I think, silence and peace. What
does that mean to you?
Anytime where I can just get still and soak in, honestly, the majesty of the world around me. Mm-hmm. So I have a very different start to my days. I generally wake up maybe 7:30, 8 o'clock. I don't take any phone calls in the time between, I'll call it 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock. I might read a paper. I'm not on social media. I don't take meetings before 10 a.m. I usually have coffee and I have a notebook. And I sit in silence. And sitting in silence, some people meditate.
For 2 hours?
Not 2 straight hours.
But like just that time period.
The time period is blocked, and it's blocked for my brain to turn on. I love where I live. I live way out these days in the Lake Wiley area. And I can sit out there in the mornings and you can hear the birds going. There's some hummingbirds that apparently like hanging around the house. And hummingbirds are tiny and they're always moving. And there's something amazing about the majesty of the world that just brings me a tremendous amount of joy. I know people that know me personally will say, they'll think I'm not in the house because it's completely silent in my house sometimes. I watch TV. I, listen to music. But just being able to sit still and do nothing or listen in that silence, you can not only see God, but you can hear God.
Why do you think it's important for people to be still and just take in the world and not just see God, but feel him and experience his presence?
You get lost with the constant movement, right? So we all are on the go, 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 go. And so if you stay on a path and keep running, sometimes your compass gets a little bit off. And if you don't take the time to sit, take the time to listen, take the time to recenter, you keep, every millimeter of an inch off course is taking you further and further away from your purpose. And so taking the time to just pause and get still, get quiet, you'll be amazed at how your brain starts to pull you back, how the voice of God, how the purpose, sometimes you feel convicted because you didn't do and you were supposed to do. Yeah. Sometimes you start going, man, I don't know if that's the best thing. You just start to kind of course correct because you get a chance to evaluate. I feel like it gives God the space to operate when you get quiet. Because, I talk a lot, I move a lot, I do a lot, but in all of that movement and activity, it becomes a lot of noise. So getting quiet is like, oh, you want to know what to do? Shut up for a minute and sit and listen and wait. I am not a patient person, but that's why I take that time to, okay, what's going to come to me? Because, if I'm like, okay, come on, God, show me something so I can get on with the rest of my day, that's not going to work. So I think it's important to take that pause. And sometimes you're taking that pause not because you're off track, just because your soul needs rest. I read something the other day, I think it was a social post that said, isn't it amazing that we go to sleep and we completely trust our body to just keep working and then to just wake up?
That's good, though.
Nobody, and well, some people might be, if you're expecting the end of life. But for the most part, we go to sleep not thinking about it. We wake up not thinking about it, and we just go on. That kind of trust, that kind of autopilot is like an amazing miracle. Like literally, okay, so I'm a nerd and I'm a scientist.
That's like 100% surrendering.
Yeah, it's like, I'll give the most basic function. Everybody has to go to the bathroom throughout the day, right? You ever wonder why for 8 hours? It doesn't happen generally. When you get older, you might have to get up in the middle of the night. But everything in your body winds down to a low level of activity to give you time to rest. And when it's time to wake up, generally what's the first thing that people have to do?
Go to the bathroom.
They have to go to the bathroom. So it's like, there's so many tiny little trust experiments. Nobody's like, oh Lord, if I go to sleep, am I gonna pee the bed? I'm like, what's gonna happen? Nobody's doing that. And that it's like, can we operate in that kind of general surrender and trust to your purpose, to everything that's happening? That's
good, Shante.
That's what happens at between 8 and 10 for me.
No, that's good. I like it. I got a question for you though. So if you were to whisper, and I heard this question before, I'm interested to hear your answer. If you were to whisper in every baby that's born, their ear, a message that they had to keep with them the rest of their lives, what would that be?
Every baby. I think I would tell every baby, you're more than whatever people are going to tell you. And that's the message I think we all can, no matter how great we are, you're more than that. I love the verse, God will do anything exceedingly above anything we can even imagine. Like, you have big visions, I have big visions, but that's what we can imagine. Like, if somebody said, you're going to be president, like, I want every person, not just babies, but I want every person to go, if they think I can be president,
then what does God think I can be?
What's that next step?
What's
taking it 2 times over, right? Yeah. It's like, no matter what. And, some people deal with people talking down on them, and they're more than that, of course. But even when you feel like you're doing all right, or you're doing the best, or you're at the top, exceedingly above. You are so much more than what anybody told you.
What's next for you?
Oh, there's a lot of stuff that's next. Well, two things that I am coming back around to. One is these therapy sessions with business owners, not in the sense of pathology, but in the sense of freeing themselves to really achieve or to scale or to sell or to get investors. But sometimes just saying, you got this, you can do it. That's one. And then under my beautiful umbrella of the Black Lady That Invests, we're going to shoot a couple of TV pilots. And
can we talk about them? Can we not yet?
Well, I'll give you we're somewhere between Ayanla Fix My Life and Shark Tank.
Oh.
It's a weird mix, right? A lot of what I do is like people repair plus the money. Because I can tell you, if you don't fix the people, I can give you all the money.
Exactly.
And if you are a completely fixed person, you're going to do it without the money. And that's where just...
Hold on, say that again. Because I feel like that went over people's heads, but I'm like, that's good.
Yeah.
Say it again. You gotta repeat it. You gotta run the bar back.
That's always hard. No. If you are needing repair, if you're a broken person, I can give you all the money in the world. I can give you the investment. I can give you deployment of capital. I can do all of those things, and you're still going to be broken. It's not going to work. You're going to be unsuccessful. This is why millionaires jump out of windows. This is why I've seen entrepreneurs who build and become wildly successful are depressed. Why? Because they're like, oh, I didn't topped out. Like,
Exactly.
what do I do now if I already made it? And they get depressed. But a healed person, a repaired person, a restored person is going to do it whether I give you the money or not. Why? Because they have that self-confidence. They've wrapped themselves around themselves. They're not looking for that external validation. So one of the hard things about being an investor is you tell people no. And it's not that your business is terrible. I just don't have $1 billion, right? I've got to make choices. But a repaired, restored person can hear a no. They can hear rejection, and they're going to keep going.
Exactly.
They're going to keep building. They're going to keep achieving. And that's the formula, I think, for success for all entrepreneurs and all business owners is let me make sure that I'm repaired, whole, and restored. Then layer on the money, then layer on the success, because I want you to be happy with your success.
Exactly.
I hate seeing people that literally have everything and have nothing. It's shocking to hear because everybody externally is going to be like, well, you got it. What you complaining about? The hardest thing in the world for somebody successful is to actually seek comfort from someone else. Because what you crying for? You crying in your mansion, right?
Exactly.
No. Everybody has issues, and repairing people, restoring people. I think that's the business I'm in. I think that's part of my clinical background. But that's part of what's next is how do I marry the wholeness of a person? I use the term, and I like it a lot, the generosity of spirit. Meaning, not just generosity in financial terms, but this abundant happiness, this abundance of peace, this abundance of just comfort with themselves. How do I marry that to all of these financial goals, to all of the stuff you're trying to achieve? So that's the show. It's going to be a bit fun, I think. From my perspective, I think it's going to be something new. I'm not too preachy. I can be tough, but I can go both ways on that. But it's going to be fun. We're going to shoot a few different versions. I'm going to do a call-in radio show.
Okay.
Where literally, if you ever watch the TV show Frasier, I'm going to be Dr. Frasier Crane, right? You're going to call in, you're going to answer a question, ask me a question, I'm going to answer it, give you some food for thought, and kind of go. We're going to shoot that both in a call-in radio format and a visual format. So if people were tired of seeing me before, they're really going to be tired of seeing me after this.
I doubt it. My question, right, is that I think that a lot of times we go on podcasts, we give speeches, we even have conversations, we're in relationships, we're out of relationships, all these different things happen. And we always end those conversations with like, dang, I wish I would have said this. Or I wish I would have had the opportunity to communicate this or share this. If you had 60 seconds to share anything with the world, what would that be?
I don't know. I say a lot. I think I always wish I had just drilled down and said, no matter how hard it is, you got this. And I think for all of the talking that I do, all the speeches I do, all the find your peace, yada, 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 it's just like, nobody's got to figure it out. Everybody's in the experiment of life, and you got this. Like I think that's always what I wish I got to communicate to people is, yeah, like I don't have it figured out. I really don't. I present well, but I'm experimenting. I fail. I, start and stop again, whether that's in business or in love or, in my faith walk or, wherever. But it's an experiment. And it's okay to stop or start or fail or go backwards or go forward. Ultimately, I'm really feeling like that's the one thing I hope people take away is, yes, there's a lot of wrong, but there's a whole lot more right.
What's one thing that you did right that you're proud of?
One thing I did right that I'm proud of. I think that's hard.
I'm going to shake the table a little bit. What's one thing that you did wrong that you're proud of?
One thing I did wrong that I'm proud of. I don't really think about things in right or wrong. That's why it's a hard question for me. I think the one thing that I have done wrong is prematurely say no or close the door on things, not giving them space and opportunity to really manifest. Whether that's with people, because I'm a guttural person. I can tell you in 5 minutes whether I like you or not. And it has nothing to probably do with you. It's whatever that energy, that buzz is, I'm and I'm good. And I think...
Well, thank you for spending so much time with me today.
I think that's premature, though, because that's unfair. People have bad days. I could be having a bad day, and I'm just looking through the negative lens. So I think that's one thing that I still do wrong, is prematurely judging or making a decision without giving the space to really say, okay, let's experience that first, right? Because I just talked about experimenting. So what's the harm in experimenting if that's really what I believe? Shutting the door early is cutting it off too early.
Exactly. When you think about this season, this current season that you're in, and I know you're always evaluating, what is one gap that you're trying to fill within your personal life?
I think one gap I'm trying to fill is not self-isolating. I like being alone. I like myself. I like my own company.
Yeah.
And I grew up in a household where my family is super close-knit, but we all can go to our individual corners. And I think one gap that I'm trying to fill is not shutting people out. When I get frustrated, is the walls come up. I get, nope, I'm doing this. Exactly. When things get tough, it's me. And that can be helpful when you need to focus, but that's not a long-term strategy. And so I think that gap for me is always saying, let somebody in. You ain't got to let the world in. And I have some go-tos.
Somebody's.
Yeah.
Not too many somebodies, though.
Yeah. I don't want people out in the business. But I think not going into that turtle shell, completely wrapped in. That's the one thing that is a big part of my personality. It's a big characteristic of my whole family. And it's not good. I don't accept help well. I've had people try to reach out and help. Or,
You're a hardworking Black woman. Of course not.
I try, but, it's hard. And it's almost like it's okay, one, to not be okay, but then it's okay to say, and I can't do this. I need some help. And that's one of the personal gaps that I'm always trying to make sure that I'm feeling. So I said closing the door prematurely, but also saying, if the door is cracked open, maybe there's some space and opportunity to see what happens. And I think not isolating myself, not clamping in is always a work in progress for me. Because I some days think if I got an iPhone, an iPad, enough battery juice, and, some coffee, I can take over the world.
You're good.
That's it. And that might end up being a very lonely existence.
It definitely would be. It definitely would be. What's your number one investment strategy? I know that's a crazy question.
My number one investment strategy? Invest in what you know and test it out first.
Okay. How? Somebody that's sitting down right now listening to this or driving in their car listening to this, they've never made an investment. Where do they start?
What you like? Simplest thing. My very first investment was a hair salon.
You know, it's interesting that you say that because you didn't go to like stocks.
No.
Because in my head, I'm like, okay, invest in what you wear, you know, Polo, Nike, whatever the case may be. But you said invest in what you like. How do I invest in what I like?
So for me, and this is where I, do stock investing and I put things in equities in that way. I like to touch the things I invest in. So that drove me into alternative investments, which is the field I'm in. So investing in businesses specifically. But I wrote a couple of books. And the one thing I tell people, you don't know where to start, just watch your behavior. Do you go to a restaurant that you love? Do you go to a coffee shop? Or do you buy a specific local brand? Somebody made that thing. That's your investment opportunities.
That's good.
And those are, especially, and I know Black businesses tend to catch the flack for being out of stock or the wait was so long, but the food is really good. Or, man, they used to have this thing and I wish I could take 6 of them home with me, but I can't because they don't, have any inventory. Those are all investment opportunities. If I love it, if I'm like, man, this tea is great and I can only get it here, but they don't sell it, by the box, it might be because they don't have extra money for inventory. So as an investor, have a chat with the owner. You never know. I think we think about...
What does that conversation look like?
And not from I'm an investor and I noticed you didn't have it. Because they're going to be like...
I noticed you don't have any tea on this day. Are you broke?
Yeah, no.
Jeez.
That's not going to get you a good response. Literally, general introduction, right? Building relationships. Hey, Kyle, I love patronizing your tea shop here. I come here every day. Yeah, I love the... rosebud tea. Oh yeah, that one sells out really fast. People tend to like it. Yeah, have you thought about, maybe selling it? They probably have. It's like, and I find people like to talk about their own stuff. So, tell them you enjoyed it. Now that's easy on the positive side. Now, if you're like, I love coming here, but sis, I can't wait 2.5 hours every time for food at the table.
Yeah.
That's a harder conversation to have, right? But when you come in as a customer, they start to see those faces. I always like to ask, is the owner here? Whether I want to invest or not.
Yeah.
And it's about starting the conversation. The more people see you, think the Cheers model of investing, right? Everybody knows your name. Why? Not because you eat there so often, but you made it a point to know the people. People invest in people. People don't invest in businesses. So if you want to know where to start, look at the things that bring you joy, that if I'm stressed out, I always go to such and such. That's a good place to start looking for opportunity. And if you see a need or you wish, quote, I wish they had or I wish they didn't, that's where your opportunity to invest is.
So what if I don't have, $5,000 to $10,000? What if I only have a couple hundred or a couple thousand or 500? Like what if I don't have that much money, or what is the number that I need to be acquiring?
My first investment was $1,000.
Okay.
And
what did you invest in?
Hair salon.
Okay.
It was actually my hairstylist.
Okay. I
needed hair products. And I didn't want to have to go get my hair done every week. That's never been a part of my work cadence. So I said to her, why don't you sell products? I need this shampoo and I can't find it. She was like, yeah, because it's salon only. Okay, why don't you sell it? Well, and this is when I started to hear about supply chain and distribution. Mm-hmm. Well, in order for me as a salon to put it on the shelves, I've got to order a minimum of this amount, which is going to cost me this. I can't afford that and have product to use. So anything I order, I got to use in order to sell. Okay, so that means that if you had capital, you could increase your purchase, drive down the individual unit price and sell it and make more profit. She was like, yeah. I said, okay. Can you go to your vendor and ask them for the book of what it would look like for you to stock your sales? She said, yes. And that was that. Wow. Literally. The products I liked, she sold out within a week because every client behind me, oh, you got that hair glosser? You got that shampoo? You got that conditioner? Yada, yada, yada. Easy to see. I experienced a need. I talked to the owner. She knew her business well enough to know the problem. So that's how I got started. Now, how much do you need? Thanks to the internet, you don't need very much. Crowd equity investing is a real thing. I just invested in
Crowd equity. Talk to us about that.
So we all know crowdfunding. Crowdfunding, where, Kickstarter or one of those platforms where you donate money or
like
give
GoFundMe.
money. Maybe a GoFundMe. GoFundMe is more on the giving side. Yeah. But Kickstarter used to be give us money to build this prototype. And, at certain levels, you might get a t-shirt or a hat or the thing we built, right?
Yeah.
You're an early customer. Crowd equity allows you to take that same model, and what you're doing is taking your dollars and investing them into the business, and you own a small percentage. I mean, no one's probably going to get super rich, but it gets you into that habit. I invested in, so it's called crowd equity because the crowd, meaning the general public, can come in and write a check for as low as, I've seen campaigns as low as $10.
Oh, wow.
And for things from a brewery all the way up to, things that are, products, services, hotels. Literally, plenty of platforms exist now for you to do this. Or, if you're into tech and startups.
Where are these platforms?
A couple. WeFunder is one that's probably one of the oldest. Let's say I think it's We Support Black Founders is a platform. I always blank on their name. Mainvest, which is one that I've been recently enthralled with. Okay. It allows you to invest in Main Street businesses. So not the high tech stuff, literally a restaurant coming or a bakery coming or regular businesses. I made an investment. It wasn't a huge investment into a high school friend of mine. She's starting a catering business. She needed to build out her facility. She was looking to raise $10,000. I threw my money in. And the great thing about crowd equity is it's not a gift. They spell out the terms for you. Here's the money you invested. Here's what you can expect to get returned. And here's how long it'll take or they have to return your money to you. All automated. If they don't hit their target, your money kind of doesn't go out. So they don't just fritter your money away. And you get reports, you get automated. She hit her target. She raised more than $10,000 to get started. And over time, I'll see those payments come back into me.
Wow.
So crowd equity, excellent way. So honestly, there is no excuse. Now, am I going to get rich on $10 investments? Probably not. But it's about getting yourself into the behavior of investing. Starting to say, I'm not just giving my money away. I'm putting it into something that's going to grow. Giving an entrepreneur an opportunity to grow. So these platforms are really wonderful for helping you to move forward in that way and invest with very little dollars. And again, it doesn't take much. I think that's what I hope everybody takes away. Everybody's an investor. Everybody's a check writer. You can write a check into a local business that needs $500. It would make you cry how many businesses need $600 or $1,000 or $4,000 because their fridge just went out, but they don't have the extra capital. And I think that's where, being an investor sounds like a very lofty thing. It really means I had $1, I put it in, and I got a little more than my dollar back. That's exactly. An investor. And I think we need to think about it like that. So plenty of platforms, but there's no minimum if you're going to do crowd equity or crowd investing as little as $10.
This has been an amazing conversation.
Good.
I feel like I've learned so much about investing. And anybody listening right now, hopefully you wrote down those different platforms that you provided as well. I want you to end this like this, though. Think about Shante 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago.
I'm old. That's a long time.
Who were you then? What message did you need? And how would you communicate that message now?
20 years ago, I was doing things to make everybody else happy. So that would have meant I was 18. That was 20 years ago. And I was living and working on a path that was going to make other people very happy. The message I needed to hear was, The only person that gets to live your life is you. And if you're not happy with the thing you're doing, do something else. And that was the message I needed. It took me till I was maybe 32 before I truly said, okay, I've done what I'm supposed to do. And some people thought I was crazy out of my mind, leaving medical, clinical work and completely going into business. And then they thought I was really crazy when I left corporate and the corner job and the, big salary and traveling around the world. But I was never going to be happy until I did the thing that was going to make me happy. So 20 years ago, I was living for everybody else. Not even for Jesus, I feel like. I was living so everybody else would just be happy.
Exactly.
And now, living for the Lord. But I can honestly say I own what I'm doing and I love what I'm doing. Why? Because I want to do it. And that's the message that I wish I had known at 18. I might be in a much different place today. I'm glad I eventually learned the lesson. But that's my takeaway now. I'm doing what I want to do.
If you had 20 seconds to share your message with the world, what would you say?
I was about to say, get that money.
All I need is 3 seconds.
I know. All I need is one mic and 3 seconds, right? 20 seconds. Don't let anybody's no stop you from doing what you want to do. I think that would really be it.
When were you told no?
I was told no.
What was the most impactful no?
The most impactful no was when I wanted to start my current company, Black Pearl. And I said, oh no, we're raising $25 million. And they said, you should probably go work for somebody else. Okay. That was a no that was like, I've managed more than that. Like for somebody else. But now all of a sudden I'm incompetent. That no told me everything. People will allow you to do the heavy lifting and manage all of the money and whatever for somebody else. But you will, I was about to curse, you will F people's world up if you want to do it for yourself. And so that no told me that if I'm even a little bit successful, that's going to be crazy. So many people's heads will get like, whoa, that guy that told me I should go work for somebody else sent me a event invite, and he was looking to raise money, and I was on his list of funders that he wanted to come to. And, wow. What was kind of crazy is he didn't even remember who I was. He was like, oh my gosh, Dr. Williams, it's so great to meet you. And I was like, you have no idea who I am, do you? And the lesson there was, I've been carrying around, schlepping around this. Oh, I'm gonna show him. I'm gonna make it. He ain't been more care. He told me that no, it didn't affect his life, and it could have completely derailed mine. So I'm carrying around this trauma or this answer, and he didn't even care. So the funny thing was, he ain't get no money from me. I didn't even remind him of it. He was like, we hope to have you as an investor, not in this lifetime. But it told me 2 things. Shake off the nose. Yeah. But people will tell you, people will close the door, say whatever you're doing ain't worthy. It don't bother them. Because they may not have thought about it. They could have said no and not been thinking about it. Whatever. Schlepping around that rejection ain't going to work for you. So that was the most impactful no. The fact that he had to come around and ask for money, it's not the first time that's actually happened. Lots of people told me that there's no way you'll be able to do this independently and pay yourself and, open offices. And there's no way you can do it. Again, exceedingly above. And
you did it.
I've done it, and I'm looking for what's next. The next fund, we're talking about $100 million. I'm
so you cracked the 25?
We did, not in all cap raise. We invested a lot of our own money.
But you got the 25.
But we closed that circle. So that access and deployment of capital is how we filled our need. Now, I do think I want to be able to get one person to write me a $25 million check. I'm still working on that. When I find them, it's coming.
It's coming. It's coming. Where can we find you?
Oh, I'm all in these internet streets. So I am on Instagram, Dr. Shante, Doctors, DOCTOR _Shante. Same handles on Twitter. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm an open communicator, so if you send me a message, I will say, what's up? And if you want to find me directly, it's Dr. Shante, DOCTORSHANTE.com.
Okay. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Anybody listening right now, this was a riveting conversation. You learned about investment. You learned about entrepreneurship, but you didn't learn just about business. You learned about yourself. You learned about the process and the power and the methodologies of overcoming your obstacles, understanding how the no's can be able to progress you forward to be able to accomplish so much more, but not be so focused on the no's, not be so focused on the people that communicated the no's, because they're not focused on you. And as long as you stay close to your purpose, close to your faith, close to God, that you will continue to prevail in your purpose. This is Shante, Dr. Shante, Around the Way podcast, and we'll see you guys next episode.